From the perspective of the Climate Vulnerable Forum, I think it's premature for us to get overly involved in the SRM debate. Largely from the moral hazard perspective, I think it's really important, obviously crucial at this point, that we don't begin to make it look as if we're letting go of the 1.5 degree Paris goal, which CVF nations fought so hard for. Particularly at the time that we find ourselves in, 2020, I think, was a tipping point for climate ambition and mitigation to a substantial extent. We've now got net zero targets from some of the world's largest emitters, China, hopefully the US later on today, the European Union, of course, South Korea, Japan. This is a very different world from the one that I remember back in Copenhagen in 2009 when I first started working with President Nasheed, when it was unthinkable to even hazard the suggestion that China should undergo any form of substantial mitigation. And if you look at the latest Climate Action Tracker report, they say that we're within striking distance of the 1.5 degree goal. So this is not the time to let that go by thinking of enormous experiments like SRM. Even more so, I think, given the latest science, which suggests that if we do take emissions to zero, the warming trend actually would reduce very quickly. I think perhaps one of the justifications for solar radiation management might be that if it was already too late, so that we were to do a huge amount of mitigation, but the planet would continue to warm and there would be nothing that we would be able to do about that. I don't think that's the case. So I think mitigation absolutely will work. And if we get to net zero as a planet by 2050, we will still be able to achieve the 1.5 degree goal. Just to finish up, let's recall, however, there will always be trade-offs. For example, a lot of people live in an imaginary world where renewables can do the entirety of the mitigation that we need. I think that's not going to happen. So you might have to decide, let's just say as another provocative thought experiment, to decide between solar radiation management and a huge deployment of nuclear power for achieving net zero. So all of these things, I think, are issues which the CVF is going to have to grapple with. And I think if we don't, somebody else will. And what's most important of all is that the voices of developing countries, vulnerable countries in the global south become a much bigger part of this debate.